Good evening. Tonight, I bring you 3 true horror tales each, one unsettling in its own way. Listen closely. You might find bits of them echoing in your own nights ahead. Our first story begins with a desire for a fresh start. I had just moved into an old house in a quiet, forgotten town, hoping for peace and privacy. The price was an absolute steal, and the building's rustic charm was undeniable. But from the very first day, something felt profoundly off. It was a subtle wrongness, like a single note played out of key. As the sun went down each evening, the real strangeness began. At night, I started hearing whispers, te soft distant voices, always just beyond the edge of comprehension, seeming to drift down from above from the attic. I tried to rationalize it. It must be the wind whistling through the old eaves, Primetta told myself, or perhaps the settling sounds of aging wood beams contracting in the cool night air. Anything to avoid the creeping dread that was beginning to take root in my mind. But the whispers persisted, night after night. They became a familiar, yet terrifying, part of my routine. I would lie in bed, straining my ears, trying to decipher the words that felt like they were being spoken directly into the soul of the house. The feeling of being watched, of not being alone, grew stronger with each passing hour. One evening, curiosity, or maybe a foolish sense of bravery, finally got the better of me. As the antique grandfather clock in the hallway struck the hour of midnight, each chime echoing through the silent house, I made a decision. I had to face whatever was up there. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed a flashlight and walked up the creaking stairs to the attic. The air grew colder, heavier, with each step. The attic door groaned open, revealing a space choked with dust and forgotten memories. Cobwebs hung like ghostly veils from the rafters. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating stacks of old boxers covered in thick layers of grime. It was empty of any living thing. For a moment, a wave of relief washed over me. It really was just the wind. But then, my light caught something on the far wall. I stepped closer, my heart pounding against my ribs. There, scratched faintly into the wooden planks, were 2 words. Come back. A visceral chill, cold and sharp, shot down my spine. Ispunaron, sweeping the flashlight beam across the entire attic, expecting to see someone standing there, but there was nothing. Just dust, shadows, and the suffocating silence. Just when I thought the worst was over, the whispers returned. But this time they weren't distant. They were all around me, a cacophony of voices rising from every corner of the room, crescendoing into a horrifying chorus, screaming a single, desperate plea. Stay. Stay. I didn't need to be told twice. I fled, stumbling down the stairs, not daring to look back. I slammed the attic door shut and never went back up there again. The very next morning, my hands still shaking, I called a local contractor, desperate for an explanation. He hesitated at first, but then he told me the house had a tragic past. Many, many years ago, a child had died in that very attic. A lonely, forgotten soul. They say her spirit never left, forever whispering for a friend to stay and play. A few months later, I moved. I couldn't bear the whispers any longer. This time, I chose an apartment closer to the city, surrounded by the noise and lights of urban life, hoping the constant hustle would drown out any lingering phantoms. Late one night, after a long shift at work, I caught the last bus home. The bus was nearly empty, a welcome sight after a draining day. It was just me and one other passenger, a woman dressed in a heavy black coat, seated right at the very back. She never spoke, never even raised her head. She just sat there, a motionless silhouette shrouded in the gloom of the rear seats. As the bus rumbled along its route, turning corners and passing under the intermittent glow of streetlights, I caught fleeting glimpses of her face in the reflection of the window. It was unnervingly pale, with hollowed cheeks and eyes that seemed like dark, empty pits. An involuntary shiver went through me. I tried to look away, to focus on the passing city lights, but I could feel her gaze on me. It was as if she knew I was watching her. Then, she shifted. With a slow, deliberate movement, she slid from her seat to the one directly behind me. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. The bus felt colder, emptier. I kept my eyes fixed forward, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my chest. Finally, the bus reached my stop, the final stop on the line. I stood up, relieved to be escaping the oppressive atmosphere. As I turned to walk towards the exit, my bag brushed against the empty seat beside me. I turned to apologize to the woman for bumping her, but she was gone. The seat where she had been sitting just a moment before was completely empty. Confused, I glanced at my own reflection in the bus driver's large rearview mirror, and that's when my blood ran cold. Into mirror, I saw her reflection standing right behind me, pale, hollow-eyed. Just as before, but when I whipped my head around to look at the seat itself, there was nothing. No sign she had ever been there. No body, no indentation on the cushion, no lingering presence. Just an empty seat in an empty bus. To this day, I don't know who or what she was, or why she seemed to follow me that night. But every time I have to ride that bus route late at night, I can't help but glance over my shoulder into the dark seats at the back just in case she's decided to take another ride. Our final story takes place in a quiet, idyllic suburb where nothing ever seemed to go wrong. There lived a teenager named Mia. One ordinary evening, while she was scrolling through her phone, it started ringing. She glanced at the screen, and a knot of confusion tightened in her stomach. The caller ID showed her own name and her own number. It was a call from Mia. Thinking it was some kind of clever prank by one of her friends, she left it off and answered. The line was silent for a moment, and then a faint, chilling whisper slithered through the speaker. "I'm here with you." She hung up, slightly unnerved but still convinced it was a joke. But then the calls escalated. Her phone would ring at all hours, always from her own number. Then came the texts. Short, terrifying messages would appear on her screen. "I see you. Don't look back. She wants you." The prank was no longer funny. It was becoming a campaign of psychological terror. Late one night, Mia took her dog out into the backyard for the last time before bed. The yard was fenced, illuminated by a single porch light that cast long, dancing shadows across the lawn. As her dog sniffed around the bushes, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Her heart leaped into her throat. She pulled it out, her hand trembling as she saw her own name flashing on the screen. She froze, unable to decline, unable to answer. The call went to voicemail, but a moment later, a new message popped up. It was a voicemail from herself. With a sense of dread, she played Italiano. The same whisper from before, but this time it was clearer, colder. "Look behind you." Against her better judgment, every instinct screaming at her not to, she slowly turned. And there, standing at the far edge of her yard, just beyond the reach of the porch light, was a figure. It was a pale girl, about her own age, with long dark hair and eyes that seemed to be pools of infinite sorrow. The girl just stood there, motionless, watching her. Mia dropped her phone and ran. She scrambled inside, fumbling with the locks, securing every door and window in the house. But the calls didn't stop. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. A new text came through. "You can't hide." The next morning, after a sleepless night, Mia's neighbors noticed something strange. In the damp morning grass of Mia's front yard, there was an imprint, a set of two distinct footprints leading directly up to her front path. But no one had been seen. No one had come or gone. They say Mia and her family moved away soon after that, unable to endure the torment. But the phone number still exists, and sometimes, if someone dares to dial it, the line is answered. Biachilin, expectant silence, 3 stories. 3 strange, inexplicable encounters. Arete real, the products of overactive imaginations, or genuine glimpses into a world that exists just beside our own? I leave that for you to decide. But tonight, when you close your eyes, if you happen to hear a faint whisper on the wind or catch a fleeting shadow in the corner of your eye, remember these. Sometimes the stories we tell are not just for entertainment. Sometimes they are warnings. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed these tales of the unsettling and the unknown, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Until next time, sleep uneasily.